everyone. So today we are going to be practicing creating some one-point perspective shapes. Now, perspective is the way that we view something. And in art, when you have a 2D surface, so like my paper, and I want to create an object, but I want it to look like it has height and width and depth, basically making it look 3D. We want to create this perspective to make it look like it has the 3D shape to it. Now, one-point perspective is where we're creating one point on our paper, and we're going to use that point to help give the illusion that our shapes are coming out at us and that they are 3D. The other thing that we're going to talk about with our shapes today is how to create this idea of size changes in the picture to look more realistic. In real life, if you have an object that is closer to you, it's going to look larger, whereas if something is further away, it's going to look a little smaller. So if I have my hands here, my hands are basically the same size. But if I put one hand closer to the camera and the other one further back, now this one looks a lot bigger. We can't even see all of it. And this one looks a little bit smaller. And that's because this one is closer to the eye and this one's further away. So we're going to create that illusion in our picture as well. So what we're going to need for our project today, everyone, is you're going to need a piece of paper, a ruler, you're going to need a pencil, and then I want you to find some shapes that you can use to trace. So I have like a bell for a circle, I have a little star, I have a square, and we can draw our own shapes as well. But if you want some nice geometric shapes, I would suggest finding some things that you can trace to create those. So go ahead and grab those really quick. Okay, so now that you have your objects, the first thing that we're gonna do is we wanna go ahead and trace our objects onto our paper. So my circle, I'm going to go ahead and put up here, and you want to put them in different areas. So maybe some are going to be at the top, some will be in the middle, some will be towards the side, wherever you decide to put them. So those are my shapes that I've traced, but I'm also going to draw some of my own shapes as well. You can see that I also made my shapes different sizes. So some larger, some more medium, some smaller. Okay, so now that I have my shapes drawn, now I'm going to create my vanishing point. So as I said, a vanishing point is the last point where our eyes can see in that picture. So for my vanishing point, you can really put it wherever you want. You can put it more towards one side, towards the top, towards the bottom, but I'm going to go ahead and go in the middle to make it a little bit simpler. So I'm just going to put it in the middle, and I'm just creating a little dot. So this is where we now need our ruler. So what we're gonna do is every time I create a line, it is always going to touch my vanishing point. So the lines that we're creating are called orthogonal lines. Basically, they're just diagonal lines that lead from our objects. So I'm gonna start with my square. So the square has 4 points on it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my ruler and I'm gonna line it up to each point. And I'm making sure it's always touching my vanishing point and then the point on the square. So I'm gonna lead it there. Then I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom. Now my circle, you can see, is gonna end up in the way, but all I'm gonna do is jump over it as I'm drawing. I'm not gonna draw through it, I'm just gonna kind of jump over. So when I get to where the edge of the circle is, I'm just gonna hop over and continue down to the vanishing point. And then the top part of the square here, I'm gonna line it up to that point, making sure your ruler's nice and straight, holding it tight. Now, this also has the last point down here, but I'm not gonna have to draw that because it would mean going through my square, and I don't want it to go through the square. So I'm going to leave that without a line. So I have my square. So you can kind of get the illusion now that like our square is coming out at us. So I'm gonna do this to some of my other shapes. So for my star, now my star is gonna be a little hard because it's got a lot of points. So again, I'm going to line my ruler up to the vanishing point and then to the top point of that star. And I'm gonna do this all the way around, so making sure it's touching the edge of the point of that star. And some lines you might notice will get really, really skinny, and that's that's okay. Like that one is a really skinny section, but that's fine. Now for this point, again, same thing like with my square, I could go through it, but I'm just gonna kind of hop over and make it kind of come down like that for my star. Okay, and then I wanna continue this for the rest of my shapes. Now, when you get to a shape like a circle, obviously a circle does not have points like our rectangle. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna come to the edge of that circle and create basically kind of like a little cone shape. So you're just going to kind of that outside edge of the circle. Now for my circle that kind of overlapped with my square, what I decided is to actually put the circle so that it looks like it's in front. So the line that I had for the square that was coming through, I just went ahead and erased it. So basically deciding which one is going to look like it's in the front. And you might need to do that if you notice that some of your shapes are going to overlap or crisscross with your other shapes. Okay, so now all of my shapes look like they are kind of standing out, and this is where I want to go ahead and outline. So you want to find something that you can outline with, a black marker, Sharpie, whatever you have to use. Okay, so now I have all of my shapes outlined. I have the lines, my orthogonal lines leading down to my vanishing point, and you can kind of see now how the shape and the size difference really makes them look like they're 3D. So my shape that's closer to the front of my paper here and is a little larger makes it look like it's closer to us, whereas my star, which is a little further in and closer to the vanishing point, looks a little bit smaller and further away. So it just kind of helps with that illusion of space. Now, for the background, really you could leave it open, or if you wanted to add like design to the background, you could. I think it's always fun to do, like if I made it look like space in the background, it makes these look like they're kind of shooting out in space. But really, it's kind of your choice. This is kind of practicing our idea of 1-point perspective. Now, if you are ready for color, I suggest using crayons. You can use markers, but I'm going to show how you can blend to also give this idea that it is 3D and kind of coming out. So crayons are always really good for blending. You can also do colored pencils. So for coloring, what I'm going to do is I am going to pick a color. Let's say for my heart, I'm going to do red. And so I'm gonna pick a couple different reds. I'm gonna pick kind of a darker red, a medium red, and then a lighter, or maybe like going into pinks, because of course when you add white to red, it's gonna start to turn pink. To give some color difference and color change as my heart is getting closer to the center. It's also a good idea when you're picking colors to test them on the back of your paper if you want to see what colors are a little bit lighter, darker, like those two are too similar to each other, so I probably don't want to use those because they're a little bit too close. I'm not really going to see too much of a color change. Always kind of test on the back of your paper is a great idea when you are picking colors. So I think I'm going to go for the regular red as like my darker color. Then I'm gonna do kind of this wild strawberry red, and then moving into my pinks. Now you can choose what kind of color change you want to do. Do you want it darker towards the vanishing point and getting lighter towards the shape? Or do you want to do the opposite, where it is darker on the shape and then gets lighter towards the vanishing point? Really, it's your choice how you want to do these. I'm going to go ahead and go from darker, since it's really dark with all the black here. I'm going to go darker to lighter. So I'm going to start off with my red. And when I color, I'm going to color kind of going out. And again, the harder you press with the crayon, darker it's gonna be. Lighter pressure, you can see the color gets lighter. So I'm just gonna make it a little bit lighter coming out here, and then I'm gonna move on to my strawberry red, which then I'm gonna go ahead and overlap. So I'm gonna overlap some of that regular red that I had and then move into the strawberry color. And again, getting a little bit lighter as I'm coming out towards the edge here. Then I'm gonna move on to my darker pink. Again, always overlapping with the color before it. So I'm gonna go over top of some of that strawberry color. And then as I move into my heart, I'm gonna, so my heart's kind of diagonal, I'm gonna color diagonally. And then I'm gonna move to my lightest pink. And again, overlapping. Okay, so you can kind of see the cool color change where it's getting darker and then lighter towards the front. So I'm gonna do my diamond shape, but I'm gonna go, actually, you know what? I'm gonna do my star, but I'm gonna go opposite. I'm gonna go darker to lighter so I can show you that as well. So for my star, I've picked some oranges and yellows to create that color change. So as I said, for this one, I'm gonna go darker and then get lighter as it goes towards the middle. So I'm gonna start with this orange color. And I think I'm gonna color just the whole star this one orange color. Then I'm gonna switch to a little bit of a lighter orange. And then I'm gonna go to kind of this golden yellow, again overlapping with the orange that I just used. And then for the last little bit, I'm gonna use my brighter yellow. There you go. So you can kind of see the color change going from darker to a little lighter. You could also do different colors, like if you wanted to do like purples down to blue, or if you wanted to do like greens to yellows, you can also do that as well to just give it some color change. Just something fun to think about for your shapes. You can also add other shapes, like I have a lot of open space here and down here, so maybe I'm gonna add a couple more shapes to kind of fill in my picture. But it's really about practicing this idea of perspective and how to create some space to our pictures to make our objects look a little bit more realistic. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I can't wait to see your finished pictures.